Good evening. This is Sunday Express, and tonight we're going to be talking about how do we transform and support boys to men. I know if you were born in the 80s and 90s, you're thinking about the Boys to Men band, but no, we're talking about mentorship and how this is very key in bringing up or mentoring mentoring men of the next generation to secure the future of the communities therein. I'm Regina, Manyara. We're going to be discussing that and so much more on our conversation tonight, that we welcome you to be part and parcel of it. Get us on X at KBC Channel 1. But before we get discussing that, let's bring you up to speed with those stories that have been making headlines in the last 8 hours or so. Here are the highlights.
Legally in Kenya, there is no that permission of switching off the life support machine. He is still under the life support machine, but tumekonfirmiwa sahi ya kwamba he is now brain dead.
Boniface Mwangi Kariuki, the vendor shot in the head by police, has been declared brain dead by doctors. No room for anarchy. Politicians condemn Wednesday's protests, even as Rigathi Gachagua distances himself from claim that he bankrolled the mayhem.
Let us handle people with respect and dignity. Whatever we respond, however we are answering, let us answer with a very, very encouraging language. People need hope.
And why don't we talk it out? Clergy and politicians are calling for a national dialogue over the issues bedeviling the country.
Anwar Ngeshi is my colleague and sign language there, and I am Regina Manyara. This is Sunday Express. Now, Boniface Mwangi Kariuki, the man who was shot by police during protests on Wednesday, about 2 weeks ago, has been declared brain dead. At a media briefing today, his family confirmed that the deterioration of his condition, as confirmed to them by doctors attending to him at the Kenyatta National Hospital.
During the June 17th protests to demand justice for teacher Albert Ojwang, who died while in police custody, two anti-riot policemen are seen confronting Boniface Mwangi Kariuki, a mask seller, before shooting him at close range. The impact left him in such critical condition that doctors at the Kenyatta National Hospital have struggled to treat without much success.
The rest of the organs are still working, but the brain is fully dead. It's completely dead. So the brainstem, when we say the brainstem, it's the brain itself. Sasa tukikwambia umekufa akili, uko kweli?
The family says they are at pains on the next course of action, as legally in Kenya, doctors are not permitted to switch off the machine, and with the bullet still lodged in his skull.
So the first two fragments were removed. Now the third one really back in ndani. For somebody to be confirmed he's dead, the heartbeat has to stop. But the heartbeat is slightly there. Tumeambiwa we wait for the fate.
As the family grapples with the inevitable, their plea is for justice.
The only thing we are requesting is justice for Boniface Mwangi Kariuki. That's the only thing we need, justice for our child.
The two police officers involved, Constables Clinzy Barasa Masinde and Duncan Kiprono, have since been interdicted and charged in court. With no government assistance yet, the family says the medical bills have now risen sharply and are appealing to well-wishers for aid.
Tunaomba usaidizi kutoka kwa Kenya, tusaidie kulingana na hiyo process na hiyo bill. Lakini tuigawa tujaambiwa kabisa ni ngapi tunatakikana.
The hospital bill now is quite higher. We are at 3 point something now.
They've launched a Boniface Mwangi Kariuki medical fund appeal through paybill number 7682551. That is 7682551, with the account name being that of the sender. Marie Yambo reporting for Sunday Express.
That's a sad affair there. Okay. Now, the government, allied politicians, have maintained that there is no room for anarchy, accusing opposition figures of hijacking last week's Gen Z protests for political gain. The leaders who spoke in Kisumu during a funds drive event said the government will do everything to contain any attempt by anyone to disrupt peace in the country. As Wycliffe Okech now reports.
A fund drive event in Kisumu in support of the welfare of Kisumu's Bunge la Wananchi provided fodder for the government-allied leaders to further their onslaught on the opposition. The leaders slammed the opposition for allegedly hijacking last week's Gen Z protests to fuel what they described as anarchy.
What we saw last week were not peaceful demonstrations. What we saw was anarchists. People who want violence to take root in our country.
Hakuna siku hata moja hii Kisumu watu wamevamia police station tangu maandamano zianze. Hakuna. Na hakuna hata mtu mmoja ameiba bunduki ya askari.
Sisi tunakubali kwa umoja wa Kenya. Tunakubali kwamba mkiwa na kazi ya empowerment tuje tuwasaidie. Wao wanasema pesa yao ni ya uchochezi na kuchoma police station.
I am telling the Minister for Interior and the head of our security agents, we must protect our country. Don't be intimidated. We must protect the lives and the property of these citizens.
The leaders singled out Nyanza region for praise for reportedly giving the protests a wide berth.
And today we want to celebrate the people of Kisumu for standing firm and saying no banning the country of Kenya because we belong to Kenya.
With the 2027 campaigns on the horizon, the leaders claimed the Kenya Kwanza achievements so far warrant President William Ruto another term in office.
Ukitaka kushindana na Ruto, the next election is 2027. There is no shortcut. There is no shortcut.
And we have made a conscious decision as a people to work with the government of President William Ruto. And we are not chancing. We are not gambling.
They further claimed that the government will cancel out opposition political influence at an opportune time. Reporting for Sunday Express from Kisumu County, I am Wycliffe Okech.
On the same breath, the DCP party leader and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has denied allegations that he organized and bankrolled Wednesday's demonstrations. Speaking at the ACK Church Diocese in Nyahururu in Nyandarua County, the former Deputy President said the claims are aimed at making him and his allies look bad in the region. He questioned why those who destroyed businesses and torched police stations have yet to be arrested.
Hizo nasikia polisi ilichoma Kikuyu. Ni uongo. Huko anataka police station.
You have nothing, you have no gun, polisi wako pale wana bunduki. Ati namesekana ati watu wameingia polisi, ati wamechoma police station wameenda hao. Wale watu walichoma vitu ni watu si wa area hiyo, wajulikani. Ati ndio washike huyu Medho. Huyu Medho anaweza choma vitu hapa Nyandarua.
Calls for national dialogue are growing louder as political and religious leaders urge the government to tone down rhetoric and embrace peaceful engagements. Now speaking in Kiambu County, former Interior Cabinet Secretary and presidential hopeful Dr. Fred Matiang'i and Githunguri Member of Parliament Gathoni Wamushomba urged President William Ruto and his cabinet to stop blaming the opposition for the recent unrest and instead initiate urgent talks to address the country's deepening political, social crisis.
At the PCA Thika Church in Kiambu County, a section of political leaders joined congregants in prayer.
Good morning, church. Praise the Lord.
Former Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i, alongside Githunguri lawmaker Gathoni Wamuchomba, used the platform to call on the government to abandon hardline stances and pursue national healing through dialogue.
This is a patriotic moment. It's a moment for all of us to cross ranks. Wacha tuweke kando hata hiyo mambo ingine yote, siasa nini. We're talking about uchaguzi is 25 or 26 months away. Our country must survive first, and we must be a stable nation before we get there. So let us not even stop talking about those businesses, about elections and stuff like that. Focus on the stability of the country.
It's time for dialogue. Guns, tear gas, and accusations and blames are not going to give us a solution. Dialogue will. The government of the day must seek to have dialogue with the young people of Kenya. And we are waiting to see that kind of leadership, not the blame games of who did what, who said what. Enough is enough.
Matiang'i said the rising anger and violence witnessed across the country are unprecedented, and that the administration must acknowledge the depth of public frustration.
How can you say, now we are talking about one community, or saying, you know, the people who were on the streets came from Muranga and Nyeri? How can we trivialize such a serious national crisis and then subject it to, you know, hilarious jokes like those?
Manyara Governor Mohammed Adan Khalif, speaking separately, warned that the persistent protest may threaten the peace of the country and that constructive dialogue from authorities is necessary.
Because these are people that need to protect us and our property. Na pia tunaona mbaya tukiona vijana wetu ambao walikuwa na nia mzuri kufanya demonstration wawe infiltrated na goons na hawa pia waumie, because kuna vijana wamepoteza maisha yao.
Religious leaders have also weighed in, urging the government to be a voice of peace and not war.
Also the government and other people in charge of managing the security of the country not to be aggressive to them. Give them chance, let them do what they can do, and if that's the language they are communicating to us, let us arrange it in a way that and prepare in a way that we understand what they are doing, because theirs is the future. We are only borrowing a future from them.
Let us handle people with respect and dignity. Whatever we respond, however we are answering, let us answer with a very, very encouraging language. People need hope. Those in the government and those in the opposition, we want to listen to these young people.
The calls for dialogue come following a series of youth protests calling for better governance, with the recent ones witnessing loss of lives and wanton destruction of property. Kamche Menza for Sunday Express.
That officially takes us to a fast breather. Remember, tonight we're going to be looking at mentorship and the role that it can play to actually transform boys to men at a time when men are called to not only be protectors but also providers, priests and prophets within their home. But are they enabled to actually deliver that? That's the conversation tonight. See you shortly.
The government of Kenya has launched an ambitious initiative aimed at elevating Nairobi's global standing as a premier investment destination. At the heart of this vision is the development of the Nairobi Railway City.
The railway city will be defined by multiple forms of transport offering commuters convenience, safety, and speed. The time has come, over a century later, to write a new story of Kenya's historic progress on the tracks.
The Nairobi Railway City project is set to position Kenya as a regional, integrated, green, and inclusive urban city.
Semana Spokes. Hapo hapo.
Semana Spokes is a bold, enlightening television show that offers Kenyans a direct line to the heart of government operations. Hosted by the government spokesman, Isaac Mwaura.
Welcome to Semana Spokes Bonga da Gava.
This weekly program features candid conversations with senior government officials, cabinet secretaries, and heads of key parastatals as they break down their ministries' achievements, challenges, and strategic plans.
Cage aquaculture farming,
Yes.
8.7 billion.
Yes.
So there's a lot of money.
There's a lot of, and we have not even tapped the potential.
As we get closer to start constructing the first nuclear program, we should have a robust regulatory framework.
Thank you, the spokesperson, for this chance where we are able to converse with our government.
Semana Spokes.
Hii sio story ya jaba.
Si story za jaba. Mimi ni Mkenya mzalendo daima.
Thank you.
Tuesday at 8 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Welcome back. You're watching Sunday Express. Now, President William Ruto arrived in Seville, Spain, and later is to proceed to the United Kingdom for an official visit. The head of state is expected to hold high-level talks aimed at strengthening bilateral ties and advancing Kenya's role in global economic affairs.
In a statement, State House spokesperson Hussein Mohammed said the trip will begin in Seville, Spain, where President William Ruto will attend the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development. Ruto is also expected to champion reforms in global financing and push for renewed multilateralism to tackle poverty, inequality, and climate change. Further, the head of state will hold talks with Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez and King Felipe VI on clean energy, youth empowerment, and climate resilience. In London, President Ruto will meet Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer to sign the renewed Kenya-UK Strategic Partnership 2025-2030, anchored on trade, climate, technology, and security. The deals aim to double trade by 2030, enhance digital skills, and boost cooperation in climate action, security, and technology. The UK has committed 1.5 billion euros in new investments across priority sectors by 2030. Ruto will also witness the announcement by Lloyd's of London to establish a regional underwriting hub in Nairobi under the Nairobi International Financial Centre, positioning the capital as the financial gateway to sub-Saharan Africa. Additionally, he will also deliver a keynote address at the Africa Debate in London to promote Kenya's economic transformation agenda. Doreen Arange for Sunday Express.
Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi is calling on Kenyans to cherish the peace and harmony in the country and strive to defend it at all costs. Speaking during an engagement with Kenyans in Abuja, Nigeria, Mudavadi said Kenyans should avoid vilifying security officers who spend most of their time defending citizens against dangers within the country's borders and beyond.
Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has credited the peace and security the country enjoys to the efficiency and professionalism of Kenya's security agencies. Speaking on the sidelines of the 32nd Afreximbank Summit in Abuja, Nigeria, Mudavadi warned of dire consequences should internal security fail.
If internal security in Kenya collapses, the inflow of the external threats will be a big problem for us.
He, however, called for a robust conversation between the citizenry and the administration to foster peace instead of protests that turn violent.
We need to have a very genuine conversation so that we can come together, we can talk to these issues, and we can help each other. Because at the end of the day, nobody will love Kenya more than the Kenyans themselves.
With annual remittance inflows aging closer to 1 trillion shillings, Mudavadi urged Kenyans in Nigeria to invest back home as not only a source of economic strength, but also a symbol of resilience, patriotism and belief in Kenya's future.
We are now seriously discussing about having a diaspora bond so that Kenyans can, with these resources, including yourselves here, you can be mainstreamed into investment instruments that can support the development of infrastructure in your own country.
Yusuf Farr reporting for Sunday Express.
From Abuja to Siaya County, where police in Gia area are investigating an incident where a police constable stationed at Gia police station shot dead his boss on Sunday morning. Gem Ayala Sub-County Police Commander Senior Superintendent Charles Wafula says Martin Mwendo shot his boss right on the chest and arms, killing him on the spot over an alleged misunderstanding between them. He was later killed by his fellow officers during an exchange of fire.
The residents of Ngiya area, Gem Yala sub-county of Siaya County, woke up to bloody scenes.
Aliua mkubwa wake kitu kama saa 9 usiku ndio tulisikia mlio wa risasi. Lakini mato tulisikia mlio wa risasi karibu saa 12:40 ilikuwa inaelekea saa 1 asubuhi ya leo.
We were surprised that two of our officers have murdered each other.
A police constable identified as Martin Mwendwa armed himself with a G3 rifle, stormed the residence of his boss identified as Corporal Chesise while he was still asleep and shot him in the chest and arms, killing him on the spot over a misunderstanding.
Just want to urge our officers to restrain themselves, especially on this issue of shooting. We as the National Police Service, we have our teams which is already on the ground on the issue of counseling. We have put those measures in place.
The officer is also suspected to have been mentally sick.
We are sorry, but for Mato, I've seen him. He had mental problem.
We as the National Police Service, we have our teams which is already on the ground on the issue of counseling. We have put those measures in place.
Gem Yala Sub-County Police Commander Senior Superintendent Charles Wafula says after committing the murder, Mwendwa took off towards Ngiya Girls National School before he was killed by his fellow officers following an exchange of fire.
But unfortunately, the officer was a bit resistant, forcing our officers also now to deal with him. In that, on the process of trying to manage him, they subdue him by fatally injuring him, so that they managed to arrest him.
The bodies of the two officers were moved to Siaya County Referral Hospital mortuary as investigations continue. Tilio Marco for Sunday Express.
It is quite unfortunate. Now, still with counties, where the county government of Embu has dismissed claims that it distributed counterfeit maize seeds to farmers ahead of this year's planting season. The county executive committee member in charge of agriculture, John Dwega, has called on those spreading the malicious claims to refrain from politicizing the matter of food security. This and other stories in our county's news roundup.
The Embu County government has maintained that it distributed certified seeds sourced from reputable government institutions, including the Kenya Seed Company and the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization.
Wale wakulima tulipatia mahindi na tukawaambia vile watapanda. Si wote ambao walifuata hizo kanuni.
In Kiambu County, a pig farming program launched 8 months ago by Kiambu Governor Kimani Wamatangi is now showing results, with beneficiaries in Getundu North celebrating their successful multiplication of the livestock.
In 5 years time, itakuwa mbali sana juu kama saa hii nguruwe ishapata watoto kama 9.
And internally displaced persons caucus from Nyanza and Western regions have expressed fear of the rising political tensions in the country, warning that continued hostilities could trigger mass displacements.
Tunaona serikali kuna mahali wanachangia, opposition kuna mahali wanachangia. Na hizi zote impact inakuja kwa mwananchi.
Meanwhile, Cooperatives and Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Oparanya says that there is a need to integrate practices of indigenous cultural beliefs into the healthcare system.
When we had Homa, there was a tradition where we were using just tradition, the Homa goes. But now, when the other modern medicine came in, it dominated. But I think that is a way to go for us to support them.
Elsewhere, the Kenya Defence Forces has begun constructing a new 100-bed facility that will include a trauma center and a doctor's plaza at the Kenneth Matiba Hospital in Murang'a.
We have had several accidents along this very busy highway,
where people are usually taken to Murang'a or Maraga, which is far away. So therefore, once this expansion happens, that will be catered for.
In Busia County, Governor Paul Otoma has challenged Busia farmers to embrace cooperative societies to reap the benefits in the agricultural sector.
Badala ya sisi kuendelea kulima kwa njia ile tunaita small scale, tunaweza etika watu wetu pamoja kupitia mambo ya cooperatives.
Finally, business operators in Kisii County are counting losses after a fire destroyed businesses valued at millions of shillings. The cause of the fire remains unknown as residents appealed for compensation.
Na leo usiku moto mkubwa ulitokea na umechoma na kuharibu mali ya maelfu na mamilioni ya wachuuzi hawa wanatenda kazi katika soko hili.
Johnson Karu reporting for Sunday Express.
From the counties, we delve into the sporting arena with none other than Daniel Wahome. I know you don't have good news, especially for those who are Gor Mahia fans, but then over to you, Wahome.
Well, actually, Regina, you know, it's very interesting that Gor Mahia have ended in a second place in the league and also in the cup. It's a very interesting thing. And when I was listening to the commentary today in Swahili, you know, it was strange. And it doesn't make sense. Naibu Mshindi. There's nothing like Naibu Mshindi.
Over to you, Wahome. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Regina. And let's move on. And Nairobi United pulled off a major upset by defeating former FKF Premier League champions Gor Mahia by 2-1 to clinch the 2025 FKF Mozart Cup at the Ulinzi Sports Complex in Nairobi. Second half substitute Ed Marshall netted the winner after Ben Stanley had equalized for Gor Mahia, cancelling out an early opener from Frank Oya. The win caps off a remarkable season for Nairobi United, who recently earned promotion to the top flight after winning the National Super League. The loss means Gor Mahia ends this season trophyless. The newly promoted FKF Premier League side, coached by Nicholas Muyoti, knocked out several top-tier sides en route to lifting the trophy. The victory also earns them a ticket to represent Kenya in the CAF Confederation Cup, set to kick off in September just after the conclusion of the African Nations Championship CHAN in August.
Shahidi na mashahidi ni wachezaji wenzake, wao wakasema ndio, sisi ni mashahidi, tumekuwepo na tumekuja, na rasmi wakatangazwa mabingwa. Rashasha zikapanda juu rasmi. Boys, Nairobi United, mabingwa wa Mozart Cup msimu wa 2024-2025. Hapa ni rasmi kwamba Boys wako ndani kimataifa, wako ndani ligi kuu. Hongera Nairobi United.
Now, the Kenya women's homeless soccer team lost 2-4 to Uganda in the final of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations Homeless Cup held today in Kamulu, Nairobi County. A total of 8 nations took part in the second edition of the tournament that sought to raise their awareness on homelessness and gender equality.
En route to the final, Kenya beat Ivory Coast 3-2 in the semi-final, while Uganda beat Ghana 2-1 through post-match penalties after the two teams had played to a 2-2 draw in regular 14 minutes. Against Uganda, Kenya fell behind to 2 quick goals scored by Ivan Agai. Kenya, however, pulled one back through Mercy Manguro to head to the halftime break, trailing 2-1. Uganda, keen on retaining the title, assured themselves of the title in the second half, with Nagai completing a hat-trick as Shafik Nkuchia added 1 goal to seal the win for her side. Manguro scored Kenya's second goal late in the match, but it proved too little too late as Kenya went on to lose the final 4-2.
It was a bit tougher because our opponent, they were well prepared. I think they have already used their chances very well, but we had chances, but we hope for the best for the next level. Our players, they are getting tired early. We will work on their speed and agility so that we can manage to reach into another level.
It means so much for the girls, for the country as well, for our second win of the trophy after winning the first one in Tanzania. I feel like this was surely the icing on the cake. The girls did well and we are happy.
The championship, which attracted hosts Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Egypt, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Zimbabwe, and Zambia, acted as a tool to inspire and support people experiencing homelessness to change their lives.
It motivates me a lot. It helped me to speak out so that I cannot be silenced when something bad is happening to my life. So I speak out about gender-based violences. And even the other girls out there experiences this gender-based violence, they should also speak out to the world.
It's actually a unifying tool, and in the case of gender equality, football disrupts cultural norms that what a man can do, a woman can equally do the same. Yes, so it can actually be a tool to advance messages of gender-based violence.
We need to make sure that our girls understand how to stay safe. Our girls understand that we still have a lot of HIV and we need to protect ourselves. And then we also want you to focus on your education.
Following the conclusion of the Africa Championship, Kenya will now switch focus to the forthcoming Homeless World Cup scheduled August in Oslo, Norway. Bernard Okumu, Sunday Express.
Moving on is that Boniface Ambani is the new AFC Leopards chairman after emerging the winner in Sunday's election held at the Kasarani Stadium. Ambani won the election after garnering a massive 1,101 votes against Enos Mutoka's 602 votes. Isaac Mulindi was elected the new Secretary General in a close contest with 678 votes against Romat Kamala's 534 votes and Irene Sitawa's 529 votes. 42-year-old Ambani, who is a legend, takes over from another club legend, Dan Shikanda, who had been at the helm for the past 2 terms. Among the challenges lying ahead for the new Ingwe office bearers includes lack of a stable source of income and training grounds. Leopards finished 6th in the FKF Premier League season last season and were only gathered 51 points. Now, Chelsea and Palmeiras needed extra time to secure places in the quarterfinals of the ongoing FIFA Club World Cup in the United States. Chelsea needed extra time to oust Benfica 4-1 after a 1-1 regular time draw, while Palmeiras needed 100 minutes to score the only goal of the game and send Botafogo out of the tournament at the last 16 stage.
Here's James to strike it! First blood Chelsea! Leave it in by Di Maria. Headed across by Otamendi. There's an appeal for handball there. VAR are indeed checking it. I think there's a strong chance this will be given.
My final decision is penalties.
It is a penalty. Can you believe this? And Di Maria scores. Benfica still breathing. Palmer streaks away. And there's the chance, it might go in, oh no it doesn't, Gusto! And Neto's on his way and has the potential to finish it once and for all. Wish he does. And Chelsea are in the mood for more. This is Dewsbury Hall, it's 4!
Olha Paulinho, grande trabalho de Paulinho, remate pé esquerdo e gol! É Palmeiras, é o número 10, é gol! Marca!
Now, on to motorsport, where Oitenak reignited his FIA World Rally Championship title challenge by sealing a commanding victory at the Eco Acropolis Rally Greece today. Tanak won 2 of Sunday's 4 punishing gravel stages to secure his and Hyundai's first victory that ended Toyota's unbeaten run in 2025.
Despite experiencing a gearbox issue on the Wolf Power stage, Ot Tanak crawled to the finish line of the Echo Acropolis Rally Greece, winning by 32.8 seconds as he ended Toyota's unbeaten run in 2025. The result moves the Estonian to within just 12 points of championship leader Elfyn Evans, with Sebastian Ogier sitting between the pair 2 points ahead of Tanak. Ogier, who led early in the rally, settled for second, his 5th podium in as many starts this season. The 8-time world champion, who is set to skip the next round, snatched the Wolf Power stage win to edge Adrian Fomo, who celebrated his 2nd podium, with the Hyundai in 3rd after recovering from Saturday's suspension damage. It was a much-needed result for the Frenchman, who hadn't scored points since his 5th place finish in the Canary Islands back in April. Championship leader Evans took 4th place despite opening the road on Friday. Thierry Neuville salvaged 5th overall after Friday punctured derailed his early podium push. Gregor Munster had been running just behind before M-Sport opted to retire his Puma Rally 1 during Saturday evening service due to a technical issue, promoting WRC2 winner Oliver Solberg to 6th overall. Toyota duo Kale Rovanpera and Takamoto Katsuta both returned under restart rules following Saturday retirement. Rovanpera's hopes of scoring Super Sunday points were dashed by a wheel change on SS15, while Katsuta was forced to stop and change a wheel in the Wolf Power stage. The next round on the WRC calendar, the 8th leg of the season, is the Delphi Rally Estonia, set for 17th to 20th of July.
And that's the sport for tonight. I know we'll be building up to the Women's Africa Cup of Nations that's going to be broadcast on KBC Channel 1 starting Saturday night, 11 p.m. And remember, that's the start of about 10 weeks of football, the Women's Africa Cup of Nations, CHAN, and then after that, 2 Harambee Stars qualifiers that are going to be played in Kenya and all broadcast on KBC Channel 1. But as I break, remember, tomorrow, Sports Check not going to be there because we've got a special sitting of the Senate happening from 10 a.m. So that's a whole different story. But last week, I've got to say, my sister, Regina Manyara, really did a good job trying to get that interview on to get a man who can be a parent as a lone father. But here's the thing. We've been having the men's mental health story. The question is, how do you be your brother's keeper? And that's a conversation that Regina is going to be having this evening after this newscast. My name is Daniel Wahome. Have a very good evening. Over to you, Regina.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kenya.
Wake up with Good Morning Kenya, the morning show that's got it all. We dive deep into issues shaping our country.
Youth are a voice of a nation.
What is the next step for the young people?
Unpacking political landscape from Monday to Wednesday.
We discuss family matters.
It is very important to guard your relationship.
And for your health.
Someone doesn't wake up and they become an addict. It's in stages.
We've got you covered each and every Tuesday at 9 a.m.
Every Wednesday, it's all about The Viewpoint.
A day in politics is like 1,000 years.
Unpacking the biggest stories of the week, getting you insights and getting you ready for your day.
And the package is not yet done. I get to fix your Thursday with some entertainment. Entertainment Thursday, it is.
Good morning, Kenya.
We shape your day.
Good morning, Kenya. Every weekday morning on KBC Channel 1.
I need you to do something for me. Don't leave this compound. I don't want you to be talking to anyone. Don't receive any calls and don't call anyone, okay?
Glenn Juguna, right?
Yes.
I think your mom, Tiff, and Malaika should change houses.
Going to tell me what's going on. Mbona Ruth anajificha?
Hata kama uko na ubaya na mimi, hakuna kitu naweza nifanya.
Madam, mimi sina ubaya. Na Ruth hayuko hapa. I thought we are a team here. Na wewe ni nani kwanza? Jill, unaniambia team.
Unakonga mrembo man. We. Unasema hivyo ndio nikubatie chabati, si ndio?
Kata
Nakata carpet mzuri ya watu wenye wanakula.
Nitakutandika kikombe ya supu wende ukiwaka moto.
Kule bangaije. Kumando is mad.
Sasa hii ni nini? Nilisaidia chirani jangu.
Na hapa hata kujabadilika. Nielezee kilichokuleta hapa nielewe. Nimechoka.
Yeah, you bwana. Don't bring me your frustrations, mimi nani. Nani kwa mimi kuna frustration? That's the reason why unavalia watu buibui. Hii ni gown. Makbada.
Kwani ni nini inaendelea hapa?
Hapa niko kuhesabu siafu alafu nizioshe.
Nenda kuambia mganga umechukua kazi.
Check wewe.
Ala. Ngoja wacha kuingilia hapo.
1, 2, 3.
Welcome back. And now we get into the conversation this Sunday. And we're looking at, the men who carry the burden of society on their shoulders. We're talking about men. Tonight, we're looking at how we are going to be using, or how society can leverage mentorship to transform boys to men, looking at the future generation. To take us through this conversation is none other than Kelvin Yamache, who is the founder and CEO of EduLight International. Karibu sana, and thank you very much for your time. Now, as a man, yes, have you ever found yourself in a situation that was too much for you to handle? If yes, what was it and how did you handle it?
Oh yes, I remember at one point in time when my father lost his job at Chemelil Sugar Factory, where he was working as an electrical engineer, because he had fallen into the ditch of alcoholism and absenteeism. And then we had to go back home. And that situation must have pushed him into, drugs and substance. And somehow it pushed him also into depression, because he was a man who was fending for his family. Now he has lost his job and he can't do the same. So he couldn't have remained the same man he was. And then we had my mother, who had dropped out of school in Form 2, now to fill the gap and try to push the family and help it crest greater heights. And I remember, as the firstborn of the home, it was very hard for me, to adopt, especially having moved from a place where we had tap water, a place where we had electricity, and here I am in a small mud house which was at the verge of collapsing. Here I am in a place where nobody understands Swahili, because I was in the village and I had learned Swahili. And it was very difficult for me to a level that, to an extent that even my grades my grades became so low, I started even struggling with school. And that continued for a long time. And I remember when I was in high school, one guy came to my life. His name was Professor David Ogoti Ongarora, who was a professor of linguistics in Macedo University. And he told me, Calvin, you have a nice voice and you're a brilliant young man. I would love to work with you. That kind of that kind of affirmation itself gave me new energy. It gave me new zeal. It gave me new zest. And this man stood with me till I finished high school. I went to join Maseno, where I took a bachelor's degree in English and literature, and ended up becoming my professor of linguistics.
So he walked with you the entire journey,
and he walked with me the entire
lowest.
And he created all the difference. And today I know he's watching. And
he must be proud of you.
And I'm so proud of him, because I remember that as a mentor, he came and filled the gap. And when my father saw me rising, he also, somehow he became so proud of me that he also changed for good.
All right. So you actually changed the whole value chain, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Now, that puts a question. That was something that was not within your purview as a child.
Oh,
but
yes.
then someone stood in that gap when you were going through the changes in your life. But then it also indicates that a majority of men do not open up to challenges that they go through. So if they do not talk about it, how are they going to get help? How do you tackle that?
You know, the society has built, the society in a way is trying to push ideology that advance toxic masculinity.
Toxic masculinity.
Toxic masculinity.
In your view, what does that mean? Or rather, what does it entail? Because so many people have different, versions of what toxic masculinity is.
All right. Toxic masculinity is when you are simply teaching boys to become men, but the nuggets of wisdom with which you are trying to pass these teachings are negative. You're trying to define things as you see them, but it's not practical. It's actually not adding value at all. And we find boys now who have been nurtured under such an umbrella becoming boys who refuse to become men, or in other words, I can simply say they suffer from prolonged infancy.
Prolonged infancy. That is quite heavy, prolonged infancy.
Yes, as other psychologists, people call it feministic hypnosis, where we have boys who simply refuse to become men. They think that the description of a man is based on how he looks, his beards, the way he dresses. We forget that even he-goats have beards and they're not men.
He-goats have beards and they're not men. Thank you. Now, let's address this fact, because we have so many mentors out here, but then again, what tenets are they using to mentor these boys to the caliber of men? You've talked about a challenge, toxic masculinity. So how do we differentiate, what is to be a man, like truly be a real man? There's a lot of information and misinformation around that particular issue.
The man who is watching us tonight should be the first person to take his place on the stage of life to guide boys to becoming men. All hands must be on deck if at all you want to help. We are living in a society where we have present fathers. Physically, they're present, but they are absent morally. We have a society where we have fathers who are who are actually chasing after life, chasing after wealth. They're looking for school fees and so on and so forth. When they come back home, they are tired. All they need now is to sit and have, they just watch news and then go sleep. They don't know what's going on in the lives of their children. Yeah. And you realize that if indeed we want to nurture a society that manufactures excellent men out of boys, then it must start from the basic unit of a society.
Which is a family.
Which is the family.
Statistics indicate that we have a rise in deadbeat dads, those who are not even in the picture. This also means there's an increase in single parents who are women. And they're also bringing up boys. So how do we fill this gap? The men are either not there physically or not there morally. How do we bridge that gap? Where do we go?
I think first I must thank our women. They are doing their level best to shape and map the destiny of our society. Just the other day, I remember a young woman, probably the age of 25, came to my office and she said, "Calvin, I have an issue. My boy is 5 years old, and I have this feeling that he's behaving like a woman. I don't know what's becoming of my boy.
All right.
Please, is there a way you can help?" So I wanted to understand what was the root cause of the problem. And she told me, "Listen, Calvin, the father left me immediately. She fathered the boy. I tried to talk to him. I tried to request him actually even to be present in the life of our boy, because I strongly believe that the presence of a man in a child's life plays a very critical role he still didn't want to
be present.
come and fill the gap. He didn't want to be present. And because of that, I have a feeling that something's not right. Now, you see, this is a young mother who has seen that there is a problem.
It actually points to the fact that there are challenges and gaps within communities in the situation you find ourselves.
Yes.
So from
Now,
where you sit, as you answer that, from where you sit, now give us a whole picture on steps or guides that we can use as communities to address these gaps, because this gap is there.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
One of the things that we need to do, churches, for instance, should play one of the major critical roles in shaping our boys. They should come up with programs trying to train boys to become real men. You realize that we have so many mentorship programs, but these mentorship programs are focusing on ladies and women, which is a good thing.
So are you also, what is your take on this? There are those who say that the boy child has been forgotten.
It is true, the boy child has been forgotten. And society has now shifted the goal. They are really focusing on the girl child because they feel that the girl child is facing unprecedented challenges, which is true. But you can't, when you diagnose somebody with a disease, you do not treat the symptoms and you leave out the disease. You focus on the disease. If you mentor women, if you mentor the girl child and you forget the boy child, remember, if the boy was the problem, he will continue becoming the problem, even a bigger problem. So churches should play a very critical role. Number two, schools. Schools are focusing on addressing the syllabus, but they are creating, morally bankrupt men and women. Morally, they are not addressing anything. They are not sharing with them the life skills that are going to help them, climb the mountaintop. Theirs is just to ensure that this boy gets an airplane. I teach my mathematics, I teach my science, and so on and so forth. So schools should also come up with programs, and they should seek organizations such as Edulight International so that they can, bring programs that are going to give them life skills which are going to help them. Another thing which I also observed over time is that we live in a society that is caught in a catch-22. We are trying to shift into a new world, living the world of yesteryears, yet we are caught somewhere in between. Running away from our tradition, running away from our culture, running away from our heritage, printing to having some kind of absolutely baladash kind of teachings, whereas we are still clinging to the same, because there are things you can't do without tradition.
And that brings the question, what role then does our culture, or rather does culture play, in the full development of boys in our community? Given the fact that a majority, right now we're talking about parents who work between 9 to 5, children are in school for the better part of their years. We are not going to the countryside to sit with our grandparents anymore. We have the internet to give us that information. As a dad, I want you to appeal to fathers, fathers who are already fathers, mothers, as well as those who are aspiring to be. How do we create a conducive environment to nurture our boys to be morally upright? And also just be strong men, not in the strong that we've been told, do not cry, a man should not do that. How do we, with all these factors?
I'll start with culture.
Yes.
You realize that every county has got a culture department. And those departments must step out and fill the gap. I am so proud of the culture department of Kisii County. Every first Saturday of every month, they meet at somewhere called Humphreys Hotel.
Oh, they meet and
they always meet.
Okay.
And then here they invite young men and they teach them the tenets of becoming the real man and exactly what culture was teaching men in the past. You recall that in the past, and I'm proud that I'm not very old, but I remember that when I was being initiated, I was distanced from my mother and any other woman, and we were taken to some hill where we initiated. And then the men in the village, they came and they taught us that as a man, you need to do this and that. You need to be a provider. You need to respect women. You need to love women. You need to be the head of the family. And we were taught these things for 1 full month.
But then
nowadays,
we don't have that.
We no longer have that. People are going to hospitals. So now even the chiefs in the villages, because we used to have barazas, and I believe that the baraza should still be there. Okay. Even chiefs in villages should come up with programs that address their society, their villages, where men and boys meet to discuss issues that are bedeviling that particular community and how to move forward. Because you realize that if a community is facing unprecedented challenges, then there is a greater likelihood that the boys are the major reason as to why it's facing those challenges. And then another thing is also schools. You know, boys spend 70% of their time in schools. And I am a teacher personally, professionally I'm a teacher.
Even girls spend the equal amount.
Oh yes, even girls, but now because the discussion was about boys, so right. I tend to focus on the boys. All right.
Yes.
Let's say that learners spend 70% of their time in school. I was a teacher, and I was privileged to teach at Bunyore Girls National School and St. Sylvester Girls in Siaya County. And one of the challenges I've also observed in schools is that the counseling departments are underfunded, and then they don't have enough manpower. So you realize that they're just taken for granted. Yet, these are the departments that are supposed to shape these learners so that these learners can create a conducive environment within and without. An environment that's going to enable them master the content the teacher is going to teach them in class. So even schools, especially schools, and I think governments should be, government, especially now through CBC, should ensure that that thing is put into practice, and that these departments are well funded.
Now, Kelvin, what about the family setup? And this is, we're looking at a man who he's present, but then he does not have the requisite economic or financial capacity to provide for their family. This affects, I'm sure, even from a psychology point of view, it does affect how you feel about being a man. Address that man tonight on this platform. What can they do? And they're struggling silently.
I know you're struggling. And I know that life has not been a bed of roses. I know that this life has not been a walk in the park. You have tried time without number to shape the destiny of your family. But you realize because of the hard economic times you are in, you are not even able to make some money and bring something on the table. I know you are at the verge of collapsing, and I know you are at the verge of depression. But listen to me tonight. Stay strong. Life was not meant to be easy. And being a man in itself is not easy. Being a man in itself is a fight.
Is being a man equal to financial capacity?
No, not really. It's not equal to financial capacity. But I know, because our women have been taught also that a good man is a man who provides, who brings money. And that's why really, as you find so many women saying that, I will not get married to a man who's not financially stable. What about that man who went to the university, they got their degree, they're out here, they're tamarking, they got even a first class, but they have not been able to get a job. So this is my message to a man. Just be patient as a cobra. And your motivation must come from within, not from without. Once your motivation comes from within, and once you believe that your tomorrow will be better than your today, there is nobody who is going to lead you astray, especially if you have your eyes fixed on the ball.
All right.
And you'll allow me, Regina, just for a minute, I always love to compare the life of a man to an analogy of the Chinese bamboo tree. Very quickly, the Chinese bamboo tree, like any other tree, needs nurturing for it to grow. Needs soil, needs water, and it needs fertile soil. When you plant the seed of a Chinese bamboo tree, you expect growth to happen within a fortnight. But you realize that even after watering the ground for the first year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, there's no sign of growth. But it is during the fifth year that, lo and behold, a miracle happens. It breaks out of the soil and it grows in an exponential manner, 90 feet within 6 weeks, which good mathematicians will say that is around 90 centimeters within 1 day. Now, the life of a man is like that of a Chinese bamboo tree. Sometimes you might try to push the wheels of life and nothing will be happening. But what you'll be simply doing, you'll be creating an extensive rooting system on the ground, which is going to create the foundation through which which is going to anchor you once you break out of the soil. So victory is certain. Victoria Sata. Every man at one point in time, your doors will open. So don't lose hope now, don't plod into the ditch of depression. Just believe that your time is coming and keep going no matter what, because men are meant to be warriors, and warriors never lose their heart.
I do not want to belabor the part that or even water it down. Just a quick comment that has been made by one of our viewers. They're talking about what has been going on social media, and they're asking, is the man the prize? As we come to a close, actually, very brief, 30 seconds, and is the man the prize? We'll pick it up. I just want to hear that, then we can close and reschedule for another.
Yes.
The man
is this prize. An empowered man will always raise a happy family.
All right.
Even the woman herself will be happy to belong in such a setup.
That is a conversation tonight. We have been looking at what the role that mentorship can play in mentoring and securing the future, focusing on men, moving boys to men. We've been speaking to none other than Kelvin Nyamache, who is the founder and CEO of Edulite International. And that analogy with the bamboo is something that we all need to take into consideration. Growth is imminent. Just hang on. I'm Regina Manyara. You have been watching Sunday Express. See you next Sunday for such a titillating and informative session. Great week ahead.
Semana Spokes.
Semana Spokes is a bold, enlightening television show that offers Kenyans a direct line to the heart of government operations. Hosted by the government spokesman, Isaac Mwaura.
Welcome to Semana Spokes Bonga da Gava.
This weekly program features candid conversations with senior government officials, cabinet secretaries, and heads of key parastatals as they break down their ministries' achievements, challenges, and strategic plans.
Cage aquaculture farming, 8.7 billion.
Yes.
So there's a lot of money.
There's a lot of...